TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my tickets!
Everybody loves Hypno Toad.
Scary dog!
Blurson at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting Premier Podcast TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, who, like the ever-ready bunny, keeps on going and going and going, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite shows are Beyond Wrestling, Fete Forever, and Ring of Honor Final Battle 2021. Oh, Ring of Honor, we hardly knew ye. Joining me tonight is Harry Broadhurst, the king of the independent wrestling scene. How do you do, sir?
King of the Independents. I feel like there used to be a tournament called that back in the early 2000s out in California.
I've decided you are the tambourine player in the Kings of Wrestling. You're like right there between Claudio and what's his nuts?
Hero?
Yes.
Am I the slightly downgraded version of Larry Sweeney? Is that what we're going to go with? 12 large, brother.
Yes, that I like tambourine player, but you know, whatever gets this gimmick off the ground.
Well, I figure with us discussing Ring of Honor, Sweeney made the most sense since he managed the Kings of Wrestling in ROH.
I believe you. All right. So give me like 50 words or less on Beyond Wrestling, because you pitched it. We're going to do 2 of these indie shows per month, or super indie shows. And I knew I wanted to do Ring of Honor Final Battle because this was their kind of goodbye show for the time being. And we will get to all of that momentarily. But I said, okay, so what's the second show you wanted to do? And you were like, hey, we should do Beyond Wrestling Fete Forever. You didn't even tell me about Ruby Soho going to be there, which would have easily been my reason for wanting to cover it. But what was your reason? I think you had said something like you wanted to get a Beyond Wrestling show into this thing that we're doing. But what else?
Well,
what's the deal?
I'm just a really big fan of Beyond in general, so I think that's part of what it is. Beyond Wrestling is a company that's been around. It's originally promoted as for wrestlers by wrestlers, where the crowd was nothing but the wrestlers in attendance.
Really?
Now, obviously, that format has since changed. It is owned by Denver, Colorado, the person, not the place. Real name Drew Cordero. He's also was the guy behind Women's Superstars Uncensored, WSU, and now has Women's Wrestling Revolution as well, WWR.
All right, very cool.
And one of the cool things about Beyond Wrestling is it's one of those promotions where a lot of people have gotten their big breakout moments, their big starts, their big okay, this might be somebody to watch situations. One of the premier names that springs to my mind for that is Keith Lee, who made a huge impact in a Beyond Wrestling match against, at the time, Donovan Dijak, now known to wrestling fans as Dominic Dijakovic or T-Var if you watch SmackDown.
I believe he's known to wrestling is no longer on this program.
Well, yeah. Catering.
Yes.
Stuck in.
That's interesting because I thought Keith Lee had made his bones in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and I think to one degree or another I'm true, but what you're saying is that before Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, he was in Beyond Wrestling?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Beyond Wrestling Fete Forever took place at the Fete Music in Providence, Rhode Island. And this aired on Independent Wrestling TV. All right, so let's get into there was a pre-show match of Aaron Rourke versus Teddy Goods. But then, much like a lot of wrestling these days, they kick things off with what conceivably should have been the main event. They kick things off with the big star that they got over in from AEW, previously from that WWE. Good old Ruby Soho, who took on the Independent World Wrestling Champion, Alex Shelley, formerly of the Motor City Machine Guns. And I have to start off this. Is this the trend now? Is it the great Southern trend? It's a Pantera joke, everybody. Where women are just wrestling men willy-nilly. Is this? I'm an old man. Women didn't wrestle men unless it was like a China situation.
Women and men have been wrestling for a while in Beyond Wrestling. They were one of the premier leaders in the integration of intergender wrestling.
It came across like this is just what we do. Women wrestling men is no different than men wrestling men or women wrestling women. It's kind of everybody can wrestle everybody and everybody is on equal footing, which I think is an interesting take.
Think about it like Shikara, how Shikara was, regardless of what gender, role, species you happen to be, you are all intertwining with each other.
Right. Okay.
It's very similar to that.
So I really like this match. Ruby Soho is, I think, one of the upper echelon of women's wrestlers out there. She has a great look. I knew the first time she showed up in NXT, she was never going to make it in the WWE. She doesn't look like Charlotte, but I think if they had deigned to keep her on the main on the NXT roster, I think she would have done really, really well there for a very long time. I thought she matched up great with Alex Shelley. I thought they had themselves a good little indie match here. What did you think?
Alex Shelley's submission to retain the title via Border City stretch at 11 minutes and 38 seconds. Shelley just recently won the IWTV title. He won it from Ruby's coworker, actually, Lee Moriarty.
Okay.
So Shelley's been, this is his second defense, as I'm sure you heard them talk about on the show. His first defense was against John Wayne Murdoch of the Rejects, who's primarily a deathmatch wrestler. But
I know John Wayne Murdoch. Yeah, I know him from all the No Holds Barred shows.
But he's actually a very good straight up wrestler as well, that he doesn't get the credit for, him and his tag team partner, Reed Bentley. But so Shelley defended against him, and then the match against Soho here. Yeah, one of the things that people don't realize about Ruby Soho, the former Heidi Lovelace Ruby Riott to the WWE, she was actually trained by one of the premier technicians on the independent wrestling circuit, in Billy Rock out of Indiana. And Billy Rock's legacy precedes him with people like Ruby, like Dale Patricks, like Trip Cassidy, who was running Bizarro Lucha for a while, and other various people such as that there. He has quite the legacy of independent wrestling talent that trained underneath him, so he was able to pass on what he was able to do in the ring, because for as good as Billy Rock was in the ring, think Dean Malenko when it comes to Billy Rock.
Okay.
All steak, very little sizzle.
Gotcha. So this next one, good old Tasha Steelz, who I know from Impact Wrestling, she and the absolutely wonderfully adorable what's her face, Hogan, Kiera Hogan, just what a looker on her. Anyway, Tasha Steelz, she was the one that used to do all the twerking, took on Megan Bain. Was it Megasis Rex or something along those lines? Megasis. Megan Bain might be my new favorite wrestler. She was fantastic in this, and she put the beating on Tasha Steelz. I tell you, I watched this about a week ago, and about a week ago now as we're recording this, and I'd never seen Megan Bain before. Now, she looks like a gal who I'm not entirely sure how tall she is. Tasha Steelz is a little on the shorter side, so it's a little hard to tell. But Megan Bain looks like she's a girl that could rock the WWE main roster. I like this match, and I liked it more that Megan Bain won. Good old Megasis.
Megan Bain pinfall Tombstone at 11 minutes and 42 seconds after interference from her seconds. They kind of played up the fact that this is the first time that Megan had struggled in a singles match and beyond, which if people are getting a chance to, I highly recommend checking out their Uncharted Territory TV series that airs on IWTV as well. Their season finale, I think, is this Thursday, though, as they go into the holidays. So this was actually my first time seeing Megan Bain, because I'm behind on Beyond. Like, I went back a couple of years for Beyond, and I'm watching the back catalog to current. Okay. But we decided to do this show because it was timely. It was the most recent presentation from them, so I wanted to do something current and timely, like we talked about. So this is my first time seeing Megan Bain, and I am absolutely I adore her gimmick. I think she's got the look for it. She has the presentation down. She's a little hit and miss inside of the ring at times, but also she's only been wrestling for like 2 years.
She seems like, not to beat this horse to death, but she seems like she's a girl who fits all the new NXT 2.0 criteria. She's young, she's big, she's athletic, she's pretty. Go ahead.
There's a single word that I would use to describe Megan Bain. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Potential.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know the WWE right now, they're in this mode of they're not in love with a lot of the independent wrestling scene. They want to get athletes from every other walk of life
and they say that, and then Roxy, the Ring of Honor Women's Champion, was at the most recent tryouts. But sure.
Okay. So so somebody who works for NXT 2.0 who might be listening to some intern, go grab Megan Bain. She's your next big star on that roster. And please don't ruin her like you did Rhea Ripley.
You know who she kind of reminded me of, honestly?
Who'd she remind you of?
A better looking Raquel Gonzalez.
Yeah, she has the body shape for it. I'd have to get another look at her. The IWTV is great, but some of their production, and I know it's every company has their own production, so you can't just lay it at. IWTV is a distributor, not a production company. But my point being, sometimes it's a little hard to tell.
Technically, both.
It's a little hard to tell how much muscle definition Megan Bain had with the kind of cameras that they were shooting at the angles they were shooting at.
Okay, so IWTV has a documentary series called The Life of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where they give a camera to one of the wrestlers and let them film a typical month in their life.
Does she have
the December 2021 edition is Megan Bain.
Okay, so does she have the muscle back definition that Raquel Gonzalez has?
It looked like she was crushing it in the gym. I haven't had a chance to watch The Life of yet, but I do plan on watching it.
All right. Well, you go watch her workouts. You report back to me about her back muscles. You got it?
On it. Homework.
All right. Speaking of AEW, the Dark Order of Alex Reynolds and John Silver took on Whatever It Takes of Mark Sterling and VSK. Where do I know Mark Sterling and VSK from?
Mark Sterling, is Jade Cargill's lawyer.
Okay, that makes sense.
He is also part of the Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona action figure podcast. Smart Mark Sterling.
That's not where I would have known him from, but it's good to know that. Do I know VSK from anywhere?
He was part of a tag team with Dorian Graves called Massage Envy a while back. I don't know if that rings any bells.
None of these people were in the Mighty Don't Kneel, right?
No, that was Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste.
Moving on. I got the impression, based on commentary, that this is not the first time these two dopes from the Dark Order have showed up in Beyond Wrestling. And apparently, at the very least, John Silver is beloved.
Both of them are beloved, actually. For the while, they were considered the aces of the tag team division and beyond.
Okay.
My favorite part about this entire match is the introduction, where Rich Palladino, who is, in my opinion, the best ring announcer in independent wrestling, decided to let us know that this was a fucking tag match scheduled for one fall.
Terrific. What'd you think of the match?
Match itself was okay. Never been really impressed by Mark Sterling in the ring. He's a nice dude. Very personable. Met him at a toy show. Very personable guy. John Silver, I think, has a lot of potential as a breakout singles star.
He's a 3-foot tall man.
Dad, the man has heart.
Terrific. Look.
Okay, let me put this to you. Let me put it to you in a way that you would understand. John Silver is just about the same size as Bryan Danielson.
No.
But more muscular, yes.
No.
Silver's like 5'8".
Get the hell out of here. I would buy 5'3", 5'5". I'm not getting 5'8" from him.
Silver's deceptively tall and incredibly powerful for a guy his size.
I've watched him on AEW. That's like the one thing I still follow fairly regularly. I've been a little busy this past month, so I got to see Winter Is Coming, and I hadn't watched any AEW since probably before Full Gear. But normally I watch every week. I watch at least Dynamite every week, and like I get it. I get why he's popular on that show. I watched his run in the upper rung of AEW there for a while, where they were making a huge deal out of him, and I think he had he had a shot at their TV title at one point.
The TNT title, yes.
Yeah, so like I get his crowd appeal. I get that people accept him, warts and all. But if he's not being pushed in AEW, he's not getting any better than he has. He has it right now. You're insane if you think otherwise. He's a good little addition to the wonderfully vibrant independent wrestling scene.
Oh no, he's definitely a mid-card talent in terms of a major company. I'm not going to say that he's going to go any higher than that. That being said, the history that Silver and Reynolds have in Beyond Wrestling helps their status in the company here.
Sure.
Silver and Reynolds pick up the victory, and 12:45 when Alex Reynolds pins Mark Sterling.
Yep, I thought it was a good, solid match. My issue is I kind of, again, you know me, I'm Jim Cornette's son, and every time I see the Dark Order, my eyes glaze over. So I'm like, oh god, these two guys. There you go. Moving on. Masha Slamovich defeated Kimberly.
Newly signed to Impact Wrestling, Masha Slamovich.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I have questions. So Kimberly, a couple years ago, I don't know if you travel in the same circles that I do as far as internet personalities and friends, but I used to be on a podcast called The Casual Heroes with Gavin Napier, Jed Casey, and Pat Mullen. And we talked one night about who I think it's Kimberly. She had a whole thing where, this is going back like 5-6 years, where she was like only wrestling men, and her gimmick was treat me like a man. And one guy did, and the internet wrestling community was outraged because
Chris Dickinson.
That's who that was. Okay, I couldn't remember who the muscly guy was. I couldn't remember if it was him or Brian Cage. But you know the incident I'm talking about now, where she took a turnbuckle bomb and it looked like it's about killed her.
Chris Dickinson.
Okay, that's Kimberly.
That's Kimberly.
Okay, is she still doing that?
Also known as Princess Kimberly in Chikara.
So is she still wrestling men and taking turnbuckle bombs that are way too tough for her?
Pretty much exclusively female wrestling now. As you saw, she wrestled Masha Slamovich here. She's involved with who is it? Rosemary in Impact Wrestling these days too.
That's right. I did see that she was in Impact Wrestling, Kimberly. Yeah,
and her husband is in the WWE,
and she's married too.
Zachary Wentz, aka Nash Carter of MSK.
Oh, okay, cool. Honestly, this match, other than like they said Kimberly, and I went, it's that girl. Other than that, this did not stand out to me at all.
Well, this was to build to something more.
Okay.
The return for Beyond Wrestling is at what's being called the Restival. Yep. They advertised it during the course of Fete Forever. And it's going to be Masha versus Kimberly, and fans bring the weapons. That'll be over.
You hear them announce that? Yeah, that sounds fun.
That'll be over the course of New Year's weekend.
You think somebody will have a stop sign wrapped in signboard and like they did in ECW? Use my sign. Get it?
That is traditionally the way the stop signs go there, unless you're Madman Pondo, in which case you just spray paint "Can't Pondo" on either side of it, so it's "Can't Stop Pondo."
Fantastic.
Masha Slamovich by disqualification at 8 minutes and 49 seconds. Again, basically there to set up the fans bring the weapons match.
It did not leave an impact on me. Wheeler Yuta defeated Tracy Williams. When Wheeler Yuta showed up in AEW, I went, "What's a Wheeler Yuta?" And I'm still asking, "What's a Wheeler Yuta?" And
Utah.
Tracy Williams sounds vaguely familiar, but I couldn't pick him out of a lineup at this juncture.
Well, Tracy Williams is actually part of Ring of Honor as well. He was in Violence Unlimited.
Oh, that's right.
Hot Sauce Tracy Williams. Fun fact, Mattel's least favorite tag team.
Okay, why?
Because when they used to team on the independent circuit, Wheeler and Tracy, they called themselves Hot Wheels. And got hit with a cease and desist for it.
I'm sure they did. Right across the head. So what do you think of the match?
Match was actually really good. I'm a fan of Wheeler Yuta's, and I'm curious as to where the losing streak gimmick of Tracy Williams is going and beyond, because with Tracy about to lose one of his tag team partners in Ring of Honor anyways, they kind of teased it at on the last episode of Dynamite. I won't go any further than that if people haven't watched the most recent episode of Dynamite. But
have you been keeping up with Dynamite?
Here and there when I get a chance to.
Have you seen these dueling promos between MJF and CM Punk?
I have.
Is not MJF the future of professional wrestling? Because I believe he is. Those are some amazing promos.
Here's the issue that I have.
Oh boy.
We'll just do this quick because I do want to get back to these shows, and you've had a long day as it is. You've had a long day as it is.
You've had a long weekend. It started Thursday night.
Well, you know what it is, Mark. There was no way home for you tonight.
No, I saw Nightmare Alley. There was no way home for me Thursday.
Oh, well, there's that too. Oh, that is right. It was Nightmare Alley tonight. Anyways, I've had that joke set up so perfectly too. And
You did, and I completely no-sold it.
You
anyway,
did. All
speaking of no-selling, back to MJF.
I like MJF's ring work.
Sure.
I like MJF's skills on the microphone. MJF is what's known as the cool heel, though, and I have a problem with that.
Okay.
Similar to something that Bully Ray has said before about wrestlers not wanting heel heat nowadays because heel heat doesn't sell merchandise.
Right.
When you're an independent wrestler, such as MJF is, even though he now has the television contract with AEW and everything, you want to sell T-shirts, you want to sell 8x10s, you want to sell whatever it is gimmicks that you're selling there.
Right.
And you do that by saying shit that you know will pop crowds.
Right.
Not saying stuff and acting like somebody that's afraid of getting his ass whooped by arguably the greatest wrestler of our generation.
I don't disagree with the premise of your argument. Here's what I'm going to tell you. He has infinitely more talent than any of his contemporaries. He is more charismatic. He is better built. He is on average, a better wrestler. And here's the thing. When I say like successful, we're talking about ascending to the WWE and at least having half a chance of succeeding. And when I look at the young guys, when I look at the guys that have any chance of ever jumping from AEW to WWE, should they want to, there are only maybe a handful of people: Britt Baker, MJF, maybe Hangman Adam Page. At this point, though, that window seems to be shutting. And I look at all those people, and I was like, MJF, he's the only one that I see being able to succeed in that company besides Britt Baker. And he has the chops to run with the guys on that roster. He's of average size. He's not one of the bigger WWE guys, but but his size works in his favor because I think, against like a face Roman Reigns or some of the other, bigger guys, I think he comes across as the Ric Flair type of cheat and heel.
The weasel heel, yeah. And I think if he leaned more into that character, I could see it, but he doesn't really lean into that character. Mm-hmm. There is rumors that the WWE has an interest when his contract expires next year. Mm-hmm. That being said, I don't think it would be a wise decision for MJF. I think that he would be better off staying in AEW personally. If
I want to make this nice because I don't want to get demonetized. If the highest of the highest levels of management change in WWE to where some philosophies are switched around and there's an opportunity for a guy as creative as MJF to succeed, I would say he has to at least try.
Okay.
Under the current regiment, I would tell him run as far away. I'd sign another 2-year deal with AEW. How much longer could that management be in WWE at this point?
I think it'll depend on whether or not Vince sells.
Maybe. Anyway, I've been really enjoying this promo, so it was worth it for me to take 2 minutes out of this show to just discuss that. It's like the only thing going on in wrestling right now I'm paying attention to.
Wheeler Yuta pins Hot Sauce Tracy Williams with a roll-up at 15 minutes and 47 seconds.
All right, and Ricky Shane Page, the former GCW heavyweight champion, the leader of 440, took on Slade. And I knew who Ricky Shane Page was, obviously. I had no idea who the hell Slade was.
Slade's a new one for me as well. As a resident of the state of Ohio, obviously, I am very familiar with Ricky Shane Page, and I am a big fan of his work. The Superplex was... I just realized you're talking about demonetization here. I have to watch my language. That Superplex was freaking stupid.
Yeah, the first thing I was going to say is Ricky Shane Page looks like he's keeping himself in decent shape because when I saw him over the summer of last year, he looked a little dumpy. He's definitely dropped a significant amount of weight since he dropped the GCW title. And I don't just mean the 15 pounds of gold reference there either. He's always good for a good garbage match. Ricky Shane Page is, and there was no lacking of that on this show. And I think when you do it once a show, it's not so bad. There were 2 matches that specifically had this here, but there's a meaning behind this second match, and we'll get to that when we get to the main event. RSP pinned Slade with the GTF, which now I have to censor for the sake of this podcast. Are you familiar with the children's book, Go the Sleep? I am. That's what GTF stands for. I got it. All right, Waves and Curls, Jalen Brandon and Trayvon Jordan, who look like they'd fit in well at Effie's Big Gay Brunch. Bear Country, which is my new favorite tag team, and I want them to run wild in AEW, but I don't see that happening.
I was just about to say, AEW superstars, Bronson actually takes on Hook this Friday on Rampage.
That's not going to happen for me. The main event, Jay Lyon and Midas Black, that's a big shrug. And the
circus act.
Okay. And the Shook crew, Bobby Orlando and Bryce Donovan. All right. So this was a fun cluster F of a match. It was, just bodies flying hither and thither. Again, I say when you do it once on a show, it's fine. And it's certainly something to break up the monotony of, 3-4 hours of wrestling. This was a fun match. That's all I can say about it. And like I said, I go back to Waves. And you have to tell me a little bit more about Waves and Curls because
first time seeing them.
What was that?
First time seeing them.
Oh, okay. They got quite the reaction here. They got a bigger reaction than anybody else in this match.
That's not really surprising to me because they're from Providence, Rhode Island, which is where the show was at the Fete Music Hall in Providence. So that they're probably like products of the local scene. There's a lot of local people in the audience there. It makes sense that Trayvon and Jalen got the response that they did. The only one of these teams that I'm actually super familiar with is the Shook crew, and the only reason of that is because the Acclaimed on AEW television, the rapping gimmick that Max Caster has.
Yeah.
Max Caster started as part of the Shook crew.
Oh, okay. Max Caster's on my short list of wrestlers I actually pay attention to.
When he was when they were in CZW, Max Caster was the leader of the Shook crew.
Gotcha. Where is Max Caster these days? Is he still wrestling for AEW?
He was just on Rampage this past Friday. He was part of the 10-man tag match, which his team won.
Okay. Yeah, well, for a while there, they were keeping him off TV because he was
made some less. Yeah, made some less than timely remarks about the Duke lacrosse team. Yes,
that was not his only offense, but yes, that was the big one.
Well, that's as far as we'll go with that.
Yup. Moving on. All right. So this was fun. Willow Nightingale versus Max the Impaler. Max the Impaler, a large Viking-esque woman. Yikes.
Them.
Okay. That her pronoun.
Their
pronouns are them, they. Got it.
Yeah.
Moving on. Tell me about
Just
this match.
Wanna keep us on the right side of.
I'm not fighting it. I'm just it does not come out easy.
They do the same thing with the Ring of Honor gimmick as well.
Okay.
When they're in Ring of Honor as well, and we'll talk about that on when we do Final Battle because they were part of Final Battle on the pre-show.
Okay.
In the 10-person tag.
Gotcha.
Willow Nightingale is like the sweetheart of Beyond right now, especially after her tag team partner decided to do what her tag team partner decided to do. We had this conversation in our own personal chat about Solo Darling.
Yeah. Okay. I vaguely remember this. Yeah.
And the whole David Starr situation. Yeah. Not a great look. So Willow's gone solo after the Bird and the Bee broke up, and the Beyond fans have kind of taken to Willow as one of their own there. So Willow picks up the win with a moonsault, which is impressive for a girl her size. And I don't say that offensively. I don't intend it offensively anyways, but Willow is a bigger girl.
Yep.
And it was a pretty clean moonsault that got the pin at 11 minutes and 45 seconds.
I see a girl, I see a person like Max the Impaler, and this is just my age showing. And I freely admit that, but it's my podcast, so I'm going to show my age. I look at Max the Impaler, and I'm like, how do you not win all your matches? You look like a beast. You look just super violent. And then, and not that I think Willow Nightingale shouldn't win matches, but I put the two of them together, and I don't see how Max loses that match.
Max is definitely the more athletic of the two.
Yeah.
But I think that there's something to be said for strategy as well. And they played they told a story during the course of the match that Willow had a superior strategy to Max hitting and moving whatever Willow could, rather than Max going straight forward.
No, you're not wrong. And I certainly understand, a storyline that ends with the smaller person being able to win the match due to strategy or speed or whatever. The
David Goliath story kills all
absolutely.
the time in pro wrestling.
I just want to see big Viking people win matches. That's all. I'm prejudiced towards big Viking people.
Raid.
Alex Price versus Alec Price. Isaac Cruz. Got it. Alec Price defeated Blake Christian. So my one lasting memory of Blake Christian was he was in a wrestling match with another guy at a GCW show about a year or two ago.
The 2-hour draw?
Something like that. The clip that was making the rounds on Twitter was one of those ones where Jim Cornette tried to tear off his own head and throw it across the room. He was so mad because it was, the Blake Christian and whoever the guy was who was a similar body shape to him.
Tony Deppen.
No, it wasn't Tony Deppen.
It was Tony Deppen.
Are you kidding me? That was Tony Deppen?
The 2-hour draw match was definitely Tony Deppen.
The one where for a good 2 to 3 minutes at the open, it was just a lot of like flippity doos.
Oh no, that wasn't Tony Deppen.
Yeah, I was like that. Like I don't think it was.
I know the match you're referring to, but I also don't remember the opponent.
Yeah, but okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
yes,
I remember that because I remember Jim Cornette's reaction to it. It was like, what is this incessant tumbling routine I'm watching?
I have to keep my opinions of Mr. Cornette to myself lest we get demonetized.
Good idea. Also, not about him. I'm just saying that's why I remember it. Blake Christian, I know from GCW.
Blake Christian also had a cup of coffee in NXT as Trey Baxter.
Okay, I vaguely remember that as well.
The closest he got to any kind of notoriety in NXT though is he lost to Rich Holland on the pre-show for Takeover 36.
Was that before Rich Holland broke his leg mysteriously?
No, that was after Rich Holland broke his leg, before his call up to the main roster.
Oh, okay. That's so hard to keep track of these things. Anyway, Blake Christian's always a good hand. If you like the kind of Young Buck style flip-do matches, he puts on a good show. What'd you think of this match?
I enjoyed it. My first time seeing Alec Price, and I actually really like his character, and I'm looking forward to seeing more. I know he has a title defense scheduled for the Limitless Championship during the Festival that I do intend on watching. So everything that I saw here, like I said, my first time seeing Alec Price, I was impressed by him. I am a fan of All Heart Blake Christian. I've known Blake Christian since he broke out in IWA Mid-South back in like 2015, 2016, somewhere around that time frame. And then obviously he made his name on the independent circuits through Game Changer, which led to him getting the NXT deal that he got off of the tryouts there. Unfortunately, the NXT deal was what it was. The change in management led to the release of Blake Christian. His girlfriend is still in NXT, Cora Jade, the former Elena Black, I believe was her name on the independent circuit.
Gotcha. All right, and then in our main event, we had Dutch defeating Dan Barry in a no DQ match. My only problem with this was like two or three matches before that we had Ricky Shane Page and Slade. I don't like to see more than one of these on a show per night, but whatever.
I'm going to give this a pass, and here's why.
Okay.
Dan Barry, the opponent in this match. Dutch, who you would know from Ring of Honor's The Righteous, with Vincent Marsalia and what's his name? Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. TK Orion, I think it is.
Okay.
Dutch used to be known as Bill Carr. And Bill Carr and Dan Barry were a tag team known as Team Tremendous.
I know Team Tremendous.
They were considered the aces of the Beyond Wrestling tag team division before Silver and Reynolds. And then obviously Barry turned on Carr originally and created it was like a cult gimmick. I forget the name of it, but it was like a cult gimmick. And as soon as I see the name of it, I'll message it to you because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But then Team Tremendous reunited, and then it was Bill Carr that was recruited away from Team Tremendous when he signed with Ring of Honor to join up with Vincent Marsalia as part of the Righteous.
Okay.
So this was a battle of former teammates and kind of a grudge match. And you saw Vincent making his Beyond Wrestling return at the end of this match too, in order to set up the match for the Festival between Vincent and Dan Barry.
All right. So tell me, in terms of the entire event, I thought it was for an independent wrestling show, a pretty slick production. There were some fun appearances. I would say about 50% of it was memorable. The other 50%, if you weren't here, I wouldn't know what to talk about because I don't remember it at all. But not the worst show I've ever seen.
Real quick, Alec Price pinned Blake Christian with the Sue Price kick. at 16:25. Dutch pinned Dan Barry with a ripcord bossman slam onto thumbtacks at 23 minutes and 25 seconds.
So this was your passion project. This was your passion pitch. What you were you happy with what you saw? Was it worth the wait?
I've always enjoyed Beyond Wrestling, and one of the things that I think stands out for Beyond Wrestling to me is let's give a shout out to commentary, who I thought did a fantastic job.
Yeah, they did not annoy me at all.
As a commentator myself, for as long as I was on the independent wrestling circuit, doing play-by-play for almost a decade locally here in Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, the tri-state area here. I know how much commentary can add, and just as much how much bad commentary can take away from a show. And I want to give a special credit to the color commentator on this show, Sidney Bacabella, who longtime wrestling fans might know better as Joey Eastman. And I thought that him and his play-by-play cohort, whose name is unfortunately escaping me right now, I thought that they made an excellent team. It's the same team that does the Uncharted Territory TV show.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and
I'd give it about a 7, honestly.
Okay. So let's take a pause for the cause here and talk about Grammarly. Grammarly, for you listeners of TV Party Tonight on Radulich and Broadcasting Network, brought to you by W2M, is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M Network to download Grammarly for free. Before we get into Ring of Honor, there are 2 things on the agenda. One is Ring of Honor in and of itself, but the other thing, and I know this was meaningful to you, so I'm just going to let you take over, the passing of Jimmy Rave.
James Guffey. Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying that there were 2 James Guffeys. There was the James Guffey that became the James Guffey that he became because of his drug problems, and unfortunate as it is to see, hopefully we can learn a lesson from this and learn that there's a way out. That we've seen far too many people get taken from us far too soon because of habits that can be and need to be addressed. There's also the Jimmy Rave that was such a huge boost to the Southern wrestling scene when he first broke into wrestling back in the early 2000s, helping guys along today that we know make their names on the independent scene, in addition to putting that Southern independent wrestling scene back on the map. Guys like Jimmy Rave, guys like AJ Styles, that Georgia area that gave the South something to look towards. Because for a while, the Southern independent wrestling scene was dead. So I'm going to choose to remember the Jimmy Rave that helped put Southern independent wrestling back on the map. But I'm also going to encourage people out there that may be afflicted with the same issues that Jimmy Rave had to hopefully view this as an opportunity to reach out for help.
I would
that way his story doesn't have to be your own as well.
Yeah, I would second that. If you're struggling with substances and mental health issues, help is out there. Help is maybe not always easiest to access, but it is out there, and it's and especially since the pandemic, there's a lot of telehealth available to people now, mental health counseling via the internet. It's never been easier in terms of connection to get with a therapist or counselor, what have you, than it is right now. And from the other side of that, while I'm happy at my job, in case any of my boss is listening, I do kind of keep tabs on what's going on in terms of jobs for licensed clinical social workers and mental health professionals, and they can't get enough counselors in these telehealth positions. It's a growing industry. So if you need help is out there for you, but you got to take that first step. All right.
I would much rather talk to you than have to talk about you at your funeral.
Well said. Ring of Honor Final Battle took place December 11th, 2021 in B-More. We aim to hit a woohoo in B-More. You heard the line from The Wire. And it took place at it was a heavily edited line, by the way, from The Wire. Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. It's the end of an era, is what I've been told. let's go back now. Not that long ago, Ring of Honor made an announcement that they are going on hiatus. Everyone was being released from their contracts, and when they came back, they were not going to use contracted talent, which everyone took to mean that they were probably going to go out of business. They were, people were. This is what the scuttlebutt was. There was scuttlebutt that they were going to sell, that AEW was going to absorb them, whatever. There was a lot of talk about like this was low key the end of Ring of Honor as we know it. Joe Koff, in an interview within the last day or so, said all we said was we're not going to use contracted talent, which means, and the way I saw this put on one of the wrestling sites that I was reading the interview at was that they'll run shows. They are planning to run a show in Dallas WrestleMania weekend. Venue booked and paid for is what I was made to understand. And they'll run with the talent they have access to. All they're saying is they're not going to run a budgeted roster.
As I understand it, there's not going to be like a touring Ring of Honor anymore. It's going to be a situation where they do like live events and TV tapings at said live events because of the Sinclair Broadcasting Group and having the programming on Sinclair Broadcasting.
So it's going to be like a mishmash of whoever's out there.
It's basically going to be a super indie again.
Yeah.
Which is what it was before they started having contracted workers. So in other words, nothing's going to change except the fact that nobody's going to get an actual contract anymore.
Well, okay, so I want to get your thoughts on that briefly because it's hard to have established champions when you don't know if they're going to be in the building from one month to the next.
I agree with that, and I think that that's going to be a problem that Ring of Honor faces, especially since multiple champions in Ring of Honor have interest from other companies.
Right. What happened to Rush?
Rush lost the title.
Yeah.
To Bandito.
Right. Who wasn't on this show because of COVID.
Correct. Rush, I don't think has been Ring of Honor. As far as I know, I don't think Rush has been at Ring of Honor since he dropped the title.
I'm really surprised Rush hasn't turned up in Impact, AEW, NXT at all. Like of the one guy, other than my stupid obsessions with Matt Taven, the one guy in Ring of Honor who I thought would jump to a higher calling was Rush.
We will talk about Matt Taven a little bit later on in the show conversation because that may have been about the stupidest freaking thing that I have ever seen in wrestling.
Fair enough. Anyway, I'm hoping Rush turns up again in a place that could give him more exposure. He had a good look to him, so
I think wasn't he recently announced for Battle of Los Angeles?
Okay, again, that's not what I'm talking about.
I know you mean like a place with a stage there, but let's consider that several of the other names already announced for Battle of Los Angeles are AEW talent. And who owns PWG? Oh, yeah, Excalibur and the Young Bucks.
Okay, so you're saying that this is probably a backdoor into AEW?
It's entirely possible.
Okay. Well, I know they're switching to TBS in January for Dynamite. I think they have more hours of TV coming. I got to imagine they're going to eventually up their pay-per-views. There's a ton of WWE talent that's now available to them, but I'm going to make the argument that AEW could use a guy like Rush. They need guys Rush size, not guys Orange Cassidy and John Sterling size.
John Silver.
Who cares?
I care. You be nice to Johnny Hungy over there.
No. When he grows up and becomes a real boy, sure.
I don't disagree in that most of the AEW roster is undersized, but I think they have their breakout big man on the roster already.
And who's that?
Michael Wardlow.
Oh, well, yeah. He's still greener than Goose Poop, though. Like, he still needs work.
I don't disagree with that, but you get him a mouthpiece, and I think he could be somebody special.
Well, isn't that supposed to be MJF?
No, because MJF is there for the spotlight for himself. Wardlow needs somebody that'll put the accent on him, not in order to... You want to keep this monetized, right?
Jim Cornette is a good talker. Someone like Jim Cornette. How old of a reference did you want this old man to make? He needs a Bobby Heenan.
Made Bobby Heenan rest in peace. Jim Cornette would get super kicked out of the building the second he showed up.
You're being pedantic. You need somebody like
yes, somebody
a
of that
manager.
You know who would be good for him? Actually, I think Mark Sterling, similar to what Sterling is doing with Jay Cargill.
Okay, yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. All right, so your thoughts in general about the Ring of Honor announcement and where they're headed, and what good might come of this.
Well, it's not much good for the contracted talent, unfortunately, but I do think that there are bigger and brighter fronts out there for several of these people here, including guys who we saw on the Final Battle show there. And we'll hit on a couple of these people as we go through the show here, because I do think that as we go through Final Battle, there are going to be several members of the current Ring of Honor roster as we knew it at Final Battle that won't be available for long.
Right. No,
some as early as this Wednesday on Dynamite, if you've heard that rumor.
Yes, I have, and I'm very excited about that because it's not like they were ever going to get to the WWE with their look and age.
Not to mention the allegations that Jay has had in the past.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that, but yeah, despite that, I'm excited for. Well, I don't know why we're being coy. I'm excited for the Briscoes to show up in AEW. I just hope. If the Briscoes and FTR have an extended feud, yay, I'm happy. I will enjoy that. If the Briscoes go right into a feud with the Young Bucks and it goes the way the FTR feud went, I'm going to throw my pants at the television.
We have to wear pants when we do these shows?
Not this, but I mean, there's always the chance I'm wearing pants on a Wednesday night. So
I get what you're saying. No, it's definitely a case that the Briscoes could bring a much needed sense of relevancy to the AEW tag team division as well. Because for as good as the Lucha Brothers are, for as good as the Young Bucks are, I don't know that the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers have the general mainstream recognition that the Briscoes have. Because
what general mainstream recognition
in terms of the look, in terms of the standoutness of the Briscoes, Jay and Mark have a very unique look. Jay and Mark
they do.
They have a very
implication that anyone outside of wrestling knows who the hell the Briscoes are is insanity.
I would argue that more people know who the Briscoes are than know who the Young Bucks are, or know who the Lucha Brothers are.
So I was at work yesterday, and we use numbers to identify the patients that we work with. And instead of just telling her what the number was, I sang 24601 from Les Miserables. And she had no idea what Les Miserables was. If she doesn't know what that
is. I think it's a musical.
Yes, it's a musical, you uncultured swine.
How dare you call me a swine?
Yeah, it's one of the most famous musicals in the history of modern.
You know what? Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Moving on. Anyway, no one knows who the hell the Briscoe is outside of wrestling nerds like you. Okay, let's move this on. All right, so let's get into. Unless you have anything else to say about the future of Ring of Honor, I'm gonna just kind of end this part of the conversation by saying there's so much available independent wrestling now. I don't see how Ring of Honor could have tried to exist as anything but an independent with a television contract. Like it's too saturated of a market right now. There's no place for them.
Go
ahead.
Literally, the only reason ROH is sticking around is to be content for Sinclair Broadcasting Group.
Right. That's what I mean.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing because they have their own streaming service as well in Honor Club. Mm-hmm. If you believe the reports, the reason that Tony Khan stepped in to help with Final Battle and everything was because he wants the rights to All In.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fact that All In was basically the launch show for AEW.
Right. Which we reviewed here on TV Party Tonight, part of the Raw Religion Broadcasting Network. All right. So let's kick things off with the Righteous Vincent, Bateman, and Dutch with
Tyler Bateman. That was the name I couldn't think of.
Versus Shane Taylor Productions of Khan, Moses, and O'Shea Edwards. Ron Hunt, and that was 10 minutes. This was a 6-man tag for the Ring of Honor World 6-man tag championship. What did you think of this match, Harry?
I did not see this match.
Did you see anything on the pre-show?
I joined right before the second match started, actually.
Okay, so we'll move on. Miranda Elise and the Allure of Angelina Love and Mandy Leon defeated Chelsea Green and the Hex of Allison Kay and Marty Bell.
This is where I started watching the pre-show because I didn't realize that the pre-show had started at 7 instead of 7:30.
Okay.
Mandy Leone is an attractive woman.
Mm-hmm.
As a wrestler, Mandy Leone is an attractive woman.
Damn it.
That finish was the ugliest freaking version of that sit-out Michinoku driver I have ever seen in my life. And honestly, I was shocked that she didn't drop, I want to say it was Marty on her head.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see any of these. So I caught both Fete Forever and Final Battle after the fact. I watched, and as a matter of fact, I watched Final Battle in like 3 different sittings, so I didn't see any of this.
And to be fair, that's like 7.5 hours of wrestling.
Yeah. Because it's not like I don't do 700 other things just for this network. PJ Black, Flip Gordon, which is the greatest name ever, Brian Malonis, and the Beer City Bruiser and world famous CB defeated LSG Sledge, Max the Impaler, Demonic Flamita, and Will Ferreira. You know, if I hadn't been a lifelong wrestling fan, I would argue none of those were real names. That this was like some made up video game crap.
There's a couple of people that will stand out to the casual wrestling fan here, actually.
Okay.
PJ Black, for example.
Sure. He was what's his nuts from the WWE.
Justin Gabriel.
That's the one.
Part of the Nexus. So more casual wrestling fans might remember the name Justin Gabriel.
Yep.
Will Ferreira is part of a tag team with Rhett Titus called the Dogs, although Titus is involved in the TV title match during the course of the actual pay-per-view itself. Cheeseburgers built kind of a reputation. World famous CB would be Cheeseburger.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I know Miss Cheeseburger.
Yeah. Let's see who else was in this match here. Max we talked about during Fete Forever. Trying to think of who else was in. Read the names again, and then I'll run. Okay, Flip Gordon.
Yeah.
Had a lot of involvement in the All In pay-per-view.
Yes, I remember that.
They did that whole thing about Cody not letting him on, and then he won a battle royal on the pre-show in order to wrestle Jay Lethal at All In for the ROH title.
All right, so we kicked off the pay-per-view proper with Dragon.
Match itself was nothing. Itself was nothing to write home about.
That's why I'm pushing forward.
Yep.
We kicked off the pay-per-view proper with Dragon Lee defeating Ray Horace in 11 minutes and 20 seconds. Good opening match. 2 masked guys. Nothing much to see here, though, in my opinion.
Ray Horace, you might know, actually.
Okay.
Lucha Underground.
So I've seen like 2 episodes of Lucha Underground.
Okay, maybe not then. Dragon Azteca Jr. and Lucha Underground.
Gotcha.
Dragon Lee's best known for his feud with I'm going to butcher the hell out of this. Hiromu Takahashi, the junior heavyweight in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Okay, I know Takahashi.
Yeah, that Dragon Lee's best known for his feud with him. I think it was in a match with Dragon Lee that Takahashi broke his neck.
Oh, okay. Matt, I thought the match was okay. It was a fine opener.
They telegraphed the finish from a mile away, though, with the whole constantly beating the horse that Horace had never beaten Dragon Lee.
Gotcha.
I hate when commentary does that. And I actually really like Ian Riccaboni, too.
So I like this next match. I liked who was in it, and I'll tell you why in a second. Rhett Titus defeated Dalton Castle, who was the incoming champion, Silas Young, and I believe in Joe Hendry. I need him to land on his feet. I need him to be on a television show that I'll actually watch just so we can keep saying I believe in Joe Hendry.
Because you believe in Joe Hendry.
I do believe in Joe Hendry.
It is so catchy. God damn, is that
I was singing it at work today. I'm like just like going down the hall to go see patients, and I'm like, I believe in Joe Hendry. Couldn't pick the man out of a lineup, but that is a catchy jingle.
Silas Young, I am a fan of. I've followed Silas since his days in AAW back in like the mid 2000s, 2005, 2006, 2007. Dalton Castle, the Party Peacock. I'm sure people have become somewhat familiar with Castle's work. Former Ring of Honor heavyweight champion.
Mm-hmm.
Like
he has an odd body shape. He
does.
Yeah, for the way he wears his trunks, he looks like he's actually lost some weight. He's less square in the torso than he used to be. He was kind of used to be shaped like Qbert, where he was just legs and a giant bulbous body. Now he looks like he looks like a bit of a professional wrestler, but he still wears his trunks really, really high. And, so he looks like he's wearing a fat guy bathing suit. It's just bizarre looking. Like I don't know. I like Dalton Castle. I think he'd make another really good addition to AEW. He would not fit in at all in the WWE, not after what they did. What was the guy's name that used to run around with all the people chasing him?
No Way Jose?
No, but close. Before No Way Jose, the other guy that was doing that gimmick.
Adam Rose.
Adam Rose, yeah. Like, I could see Dalton Castle being like another Adam Rose, and since we all know how Adam Rose has ended up, let's just not go there again. But I can see Dalton Castle doing well in AEW.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Castle's a little bit beyond the WWE hiring age. So if he's going to land anywhere, it would more than likely be because I think Castle's like 36 or 37
years
old.
That was what I was implying. Like, the window is shut for WWE, but he's got, of all these guys, besides Joe Hendry, he's got this really fun personality, and I think he actually comes alive on camera.
We believe in Joe Hendry.
Yep, TV party believes in Joe Hendry.
There's your subtitle for tonight's episode.
That's right.
The Indie-Siders 2, we believe in Joe Hendry.
Perfect.
All right. Rhett Titus, it feels like a nice way for the ROH to go out of its official ROH, the end of an era ROH, by putting the TV title on Rhett Titus. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I have never seen anything in Rhett Titus. I am not a fan. I thought his tag team partner in the All Night Express was way better in the KING King, in Kenny King. So, like, I don't dislike putting the title on Titus, but I think it's more of a career achievement award for Titus than anything else really going forward.
That's fine. That's kind of what happens on a show like this. Josh Woods, who is the Pure Rules champion, Ring of Honor Pure champion, defeated Brian Johnson by technical submission. This match had a lot of promise. I don't think it delivered. I think if you're talking about the Pure Wrestling Championship and, catch as can technical wrestling, I've seen better. This was kind of
the main event was better Pure Wrestling than this match was.
Yeah, agreed.
Like Josh Woods, I get the appeal of the former MMA fighter, the former UFC fighter. I get the appeal of Josh Woods. I don't think he's that good.
Yeah.
And Brian Johnson has never impressed me. He's one of those Ring of Honor students. He's never really impressed me.
Yeah, I was not impressed with this match at all. Next match was Shane Taylor and Kenny King. This was almost 20 minutes long, and it was called Fight Without Honor. This was
their trademark, the ROH trademark stipulation match for settling blood feuds.
Got it. This was two African-American guys kicking the living hell out of each other. I thought they worked really, really well. I thought they meshed nicely. I thought they put on, for a no holds barred street fight type match. I thought this didn't get into borderline silly the way a lot of these do. I bought that they were having a fight where they were trying to kill each other. It was fun.
Speaking of trying to kill each other, let's talk about the moment where one of them almost died.
Go ahead.
The package pile driver on the ladder bridge between the guardrail and the ring.
Yeah, that hurt me when I saw it. That was rough.
The ladder gives way, and Shane Taylor almost drops Kenny King right on his goddamn head. My spinal column hurt watching that.
Yeah, that's one of those where you get hit with it and you start rethinking your life choices. So I'm hearing Kenny King might actually end up in AEW. Take a drink when I say might end up in AEW or should be in AEW. You'll have alcohol poisoning by the end of the show. But I've heard the rumor is Kenny King that's where he's headed.
Or a sugar coma.
Sure.
King's another one of those guys that he actually does have some mainstream notoriety that people would recognize him.
Okay.
Let's not forget that Kenny King was on The Bachelor a couple of seasons ago.
It's hard to forget when you don't know, but that's interesting.
Well, now you know.
And knowing is half the battle. The final battle, as it were.
Do. Oh, boo.
There it is. All right.
I do appreciate a good rim shot.
Roxy is an adorable looking lady. Good grief. She took on Willow Nightingale. She beat her by pinfall for the ROH Women's Championship at 9:50. Roxy, I believe, is. Did she wrestle? Am I mistaken? Does she wrestle for Impact as well?
No, she does not.
No.
Or she did
Okay.
not. We did talk about the fact that she had the WWE tryout this past week, so we'll see if anything comes of that. She is scheduled to wrestle for Impact against Deonna Purrazzo, because if you remember,
That's what I saw. Okay, yeah.
The Virtuosa came out and confronted Roxy after the match and challenged her to a champion, because Deonna's going to wrestle Mickie James at Hard to Kill.
Mm-hmm.
And then Deonna said that when she beats Mickie at Hard to Kill and gets back her Impact Championship, then she challenges Roxy to a champion versus champion match.
Okay. I knew I had read that this was not the end of the road for Roxy. Look, she's an adorable looking girl. She seems young. She seems like she'd be a good fit for NXT 2.0. I'm hoping she makes it. I'm hoping they see something in her. I liked her work in this match. I thought she meshed well with Willow.
Yeah, they had the David Goliath story that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And much more physical form here, because Roxy is a petite little thing.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, Willow is a bigger girl, but she's a deceptively good athlete for a woman her size.
Yeah, she's very graceful. I mean, and look, she's not like Dewdrop size. She's just thicker than the average dame that wrestles these days. But I think both of them are pretty light on their feet. Neither one of them were too klutzy.
Thicker than the average bear.
All right. And then we have Violence Unlimited, no vowels. Brody King. Homicide has got to be 100 years old at this point. Good grief.
He's certainly up there. Yes.
Holy cow. So yeah, Brody King, Homicide, and Tony Deppen of GCW fame. Good old Tony Deppen. I enjoy him.
Real quick, I will say this much about Homicide. I did appreciate Homicide going back to the Hit Squad jumpsuit for the Final Battle show, just because that was a callback to the very first Ring of Honor show back in 2002 in the era of Honor Begins.
I appreciated that he busted out the fork.
The ghetto fork?
Yes.
He also busted out a sick-looking cop killer, too.
Yes, he did. So, yeah. So Tony Deppen, who I enjoy from the GCW shows, he's fun. I'm hoping to see him on one of the Effie's big gay brunch shows coming up at WrestleMania or something along those lines. And Rocky Romero with Chris Dickinson. What the hell happened to Chris Dickinson?
Broke his leg.
Doing what?
Wrestling a couple of months ago.
I don't believe you.
Google.
I will. Poor dirty daddy. I feel bad for him now. But yeah, I was surprised to see him out there with the crutches.
The future Papa.
Okay, and then they took on Kurgan from the Attitude Era, otherwise known now as EC3. Holy crap! I did not recognize him.
He is super gassed. It's scary.
Well, his face. So EC3's face used to not be that sharp in the chin. It comes to a point now. That's why I thought he looked like Kurgan. Can
we do real quick before we move over to the other team? Can we talk about one other member of the Violence Unlimited?
Go ahead.
Because they actually, you know that whole take a drink to going to AEW thing? Let's talk about the member that actually has already signed with AEW.
Okay.
Brody King.
Ah, yes.
Did you watch, you said you watched Winter is Coming, yes?
I did.
You saw the not Alistair, what's his freaking
Malachi
name?
Black.
Malachi Black vignette where where he spewed the mist in the person's face and said, now you're so much more than a king.
Ah, okay.
It's referring, him and Brody King have teamed on the Independents.
Cool.
They're the PWG Tag Team Champions, as a matter of fact.
If I ever get to watch Dynamite on a regular basis again, when I'm not doing 500 other podcasts and prepping for them, maybe I'll get to see him wrestle. Thanks, my wife. What? I have to suffer the consequences for decisions I made for myself? That's not fair. TikTok tells me. Anyway, yes, the other team was EC3, Eli Isom, Taylor Russ, and Tracy Williams. So this cracked me up, not having nothing to do with the match, though. Watching Homicide and Tony Deppen wrestle is always a treat. This cracked me up because this leads to, I think it's either here or later on in the show, where what's his face, who's
right after the match, the Titan Adam Scherr.
Yeah, what did we call him in WWE for years?
Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman. So could you explain to me this whole control your narrative thing?
No, I've never watched any of the pay-per-views.
Okay.
I understand where they're going with and the fact that Adam Scherr is now going to apparently be making a run on the Independents.
Mm-hmm.
I have to watch my language here. Adam sure can go fornicate with himself.
I understand. My question to you was, what is the whole control your narrative thing?
I honestly don't have an explanation for it. I've never seen any of the pay-per-views.
Okay. This has been going on for a while then?
Yeah, he's had a couple of that were produced on Fight TV that I know they were wrestling shows that EC3 was heavily involved with and or promoted. And I'm pretty sure that I've heard reports that EC3 footed the bill for Adam Scher to be on Final Battle as well, because we all know ROH wasn't paying his booking fee.
Can you answer me this question?
Possible.
What narrative is he trying to control? What is the narrative about EC3 that he disagrees with, like Poppy, and is now trying to take control over?
The fact that he was used as enhancement talent in the WWE.
Okay, so his narrative.
Which, to be fair, everywhere else that Ethan Carter III, Michael Hutter, Derek Bateman, whatever you want to call him, everywhere else he's gone, he's been a main event player. Right.
So when he says control your narrative, he says don't let yourself be used as a jobber. That's his whole thing.
Know your worth. It's pretty much your typical post anti-WWE rhetoric that we see from a bunch of people. Yes.
Yeah, this
more
was more interesting when Shane Douglas was doing it 20 years ago.
How many My Little Pony GIFs do you have over there? Jeez.
That's the second one. I also have this one.
So, Loki.
That's a reference to that is a reference to when we get off topic and we have to get on topic again, because some people Harry went into the negative zone. Hey, you're back. We have to, sometimes people don't know how to stay on topic and we have to get them back on topic, and so I'll play that one. I can do a few more of these if you want.
Real quick before we move forward to the next match. Russ Tyler was in NXT as Taylor Rust, part of the Diamond Mine originally.
Gotcha. All right. So this was an 8-man tag that lasted almost 15 minutes. It was fine. This was again another one of these. We got to break up the monotony of the show. So let's have a bunch of wrestlers go out there and try to kill each other. It was entertaining.
Yeah, the main thing I remember from this match is Homicide dropping the one dude on his head with the cop killer.
Yep. All right. The Briscoe brothers defeated OGK of Matt Taven and Mike Bennett with Maria Kanellis.
Original Generation Kingdom.
Yes, sir. And this was 15 minutes and 40 seconds for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. The Briscoe brothers ended up winning, but then they were attacked by FTR. And so what do you I have to ask. I mean, I like the match. I thought they told a really good match here.
Let's talk about the match first here, because you remember how I talked about the package pile driver on the ladder?
Yeah.
The second moment that I thought somebody was an absolute dumbass was Jay Briscoe.
I was gonna say, is this the prick where they killed Maria Kanellis on the side of the ring?
No, that although Bennett did spear her on the apron, yes.
Yeah.
But I was more referring to the Doomsday device on the floor.
Yes, that looked rough.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do a backflip off a dude's shoulders and land on our stomach. F that.
Look great on camera. I mean,
and it looks great in the hospital bill for the broken ribs afterwards too.
Well, they're the dummies that decided to take that move. What do you want from me?
Not to mention, how the hell was Taven supposed to control his landing too? He has to do a suicide dive and stick his arm out for the clothesline. How's he supposed to break his fall? I'm surprised Taven didn't jack himself up.
This was the best match of the night for me.
I agree.
This was if the night had ended with this match, I think it would have been a nice coda to this era of Ring of Honor.
See, I really enjoy technical wrestling, so I did also really enjoy Lethal and Gresham as well, which we'll get to next. But yeah, either one of these matches, you could have flipped a coin, and either one of these two could have main evented, and I'd have been okay with it. I get the reasoning why they closed with Gresham and Lethal, so that way you could have the wrestlers surrounding the ring and the big marquee celebration moment for Gresham at the end. Spoiler alert! Oops. But
So what do you think? So the Briscoes are headed to AEW. We already know that,
at least temporarily.
What do you think happens with the OGK? I mean, I think they have a nice look to them. I know. Look, and not to get off on a tangent, B, bring up something really, really sad, but one of my lasting recent memories of the late Larry Zonka, 401 Mania, was being called out by him for being a Matt Taven fan, and I was a Matt Taven fan mostly because of the reason I'm a fan about just about anything. Everybody else hates them. Well, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna eat a sandwich. I thought Matt Taven at the
certain expletive deleted from that sentence.
I saw him at the weekend of WrestleMania. We went to the Ring of Honor New Japan show.
Okay.
And Madison Square Garden.
I was going to say the G1 Supercard.
Yeah, where Matt Taven won the ladder match for the title, and the internet, ripped its own head off and threw it across the room. And I laughed my butt off. I actually ran down and bought the Madison Square Taven t-shirt after that because I'm a troll. My point being that not having a lot of context and just kind of getting hearing people just hate Matt Taven until I have to be against it. I adopted him, and Larry used to call me out for it. He was like, "Well, everyone in the world hates Matt Taven except Mark Radulich," and that always used to give me great joy.
Well, real quick, first of all, rest in peace, Larry. And if you can donate to the GoFundMe for the family, please do so, because Larry was a god amongst men amongst the IWC. And his presence is still missed to this day.
Larry was to professional wrestling what I am to podcasting.
You're giving yourself a lot of credit there, buddy.
I do a lot of podcasting. I believe me. I know how much wrestling Larry watched.
To more than I watched, and that's
more than any human being watched.
I don't think it's legal to watch as much wrestling as he did. But anyways, so first of all, rest in peace, Larry.
He had time to have 3 kids, so he did other stuff. And I used to follow his barbecuing. But yeah, he watched everything and wrote about it. God bless him.
I still use some of his old reviews as my resources for shows that I go back and watch to this day.
Yep.
So again, we miss you, Larry. Thank you for everything, sir. Rest easy. I actually like the other half of the OGK. I am a huge fan of Mike Bennett.
Yeah, Mike Bennett who flamed out in the WWE. They were much more interested in his wife than they were him.
But he did get an action figure.
I see that.
I collect the wrestling figures. What do you want from me? Don't you roll your eyes at me. Don't look at me in that tone of voice.
Oh, believe me, I'm surrounded by man babies who play with toys. I hear about it all the time. Have you seen Chris Bailey's tweets about me lately? That I'm a bitter old man who never got to play with toys as a child?
You will feel the pain and the joy of the man who was never a boy. Shout out Eddie Kingston. I've always been a fan of Mike Bennett's. I loved his work as the Miracle in Impact Wrestling, the Miracle Mike Bennett. I thought his original run in Ring of Honor was very underrated because of the fact that he did something in Ring of Honor that very few people actually ever did in Ring of Honor. He wanted to draw legitimate heel heat. So he intentionally sandbagged people in matches. Like he intentionally sandbagged some of his matches in order to get people to hate him. And too many people were concerned about the work rate, star ratings, Melchers. Bennett didn't care. Bennett wanted you to hate him,
right?
And if he was going to, and if that the old Cactus Jack in ECW, where you want garbage wrestling, well, too damn bad. I'm going to give you technical wrestling, and you're going to like it.
Matt Taven to me seems like a Walmart variety version of MJF.
Huh. Matt Taven is 36.
Matt Taven is too old for the WWE.
Matt Taven is a month younger than I am.
What do you think, though, of my assessment there that Matt Taven is sort of generic brand MJF?
I think Taven isn't as good of a worker as MJF is. And the only reason I say that is because we've seen MJF hold his own against guys like Darby, against guys like Sammy, against all these.
I like how you're talking about work rate and technical wrestling, and the first name you bring up is the skateboarder who throws himself off a 12-foot diving board into an ordinary drinking glass. Observe.
Okay, let's take a real quick look at Darby here to go off topic for just a quick second here. Let's go back to the most recent AEW pay-per-view Full Gear, shall we?
When he showed up in the car and the car flipped over and he walked out of it.
Yes, that's vignettes aside. Let's talk about that Darby Allin MJF match.
It was good. It was one of the best matches on the show.
That match was fantastic. I don't do quarter stars.
So all MJF.
Disagree.
all MJF. I'm not giving Darby Allin an ounce of credit.
Horribly disagree with that.
Darby Allin is good for throwing himself down a flight of stairs, and that's all.
That match was 4 stars, and it was just as much Darby as it was MJF.
If you say so.
You're just a Darby hater. It's fine.
I am a Darby hater. Him and Joel Silver can go be midgets in another company.
John Silver.
I don't care. I'm not saying his name.
Apparently, you and Cora Jade have that opinion of Darby Allin in common. Do you see that shit? That stuff?
That was hysterical.
Jesus.
I was like, retweet.
You want to talk about ratioing somebody? Damn.
Oh, that made my day.
Damn. All right. Back to the OGK real quick.
Yes.
I don't know how she does it, but I am pretty sure Maria Kanellis has a fountain of youth.
Yeah, how did she get younger and prettier?
I have absolutely no clue.
What deal did she make with the devil?
To quote Santino Marella, there's a name you didn't think you'd hear on this podcast. Summon the gun.
Indeed. All right, let's get this done here. We got one more match to go. John Gresham, another midget, versus Jay Lethal. Somehow,
how dare you?
John Gresham versus Jay Lethal look like Shawn Michaels versus Kevin Nash by comparison.
Okay, first of all, Jonathan Gresham.
Whatever. Shorty McGee.
Second of all, 5'7". I'm not going to sit here and say that he's the tallest dog in the fight.
5'1".
Gresham is 5'7".
I don't believe you.
Google.
People listening to this podcast, he's 5'4". I Googled it, you mother effer. I have it right here.
Really? 5'4"?
He's 5'4", and he looks every bit of 5'4".
He's built at 5'7". Anyway,
I'm sure.
Okay, but here's the thing, though.
It's still real to Harry Broadhurst.
That is 5'4" of a dude that would tie you up like a damn pretzel.
I'm not. Why does everyone want to beat me up? Why does everyone want to kick my ass, as the country song goes?
It's a great day
yes.
to whoop somebody's ass.
That's correct. Look. I'm not suggesting I could take him in a fight. All I'm saying is that he's short.
Lethal's not exactly huge.
And somehow look like Kevin Nash by comparison to him.
I mean, in fairness, Lethal also has a bigger body mass type because of, well, there's that whole rumor that Lethal was on the gas for a while.
Well, no, judging them side by side, it looked like Gresham was actually whiter.
Bulkier, yes.
Definitely than Jay Lethal, who now is signed with AEW, so he landed on his feet well.
Gresham's reportedly heading to AEW as well.
Oh, good. He can battle Larry Silver, and they can have a short man's fight.
Are we just going to keep intentionally getting his name incorrect?
I got his name right. It's Salvatore Silver.
Sincerely, you got that wrong. And yes, I got that reference. It was appreciated.
So I don't know if this is a friend of yours, but billed at 5'7" by the same guy that was in The Undertaker was 7'2", and Yokozuna was 600 pounds before he actually became that big. Bravo, Riz Nation, bravo.
Former kickoff co-host Randy Isbell.
Oh, hi, Randy. Good to have you aboard here. We missed you over at W2M. All right, so as far as the match itself between Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels, this was
good friends, better enemies.
That's right. This was a fine match. It wasn't my favorite compared to the Briscoes and
see, OGK. I think it's gonna come down to your preference in wrestling rather.
No, it absolutely comes down to preference, and I'm not saying that. I think for half the people who saw this, I'm sure they loved it.
And that's what I was going to say there. If your preference is that hard-hitting, independent style that we've become accustomed to, almost that Young Buck style, then you're going to prefer Briscoes versus OGK. If your preference is the more traditional wrestlers, your Malenkos, your Benoits, your Guerreros, your Scorpios back when he gave a damn, then you're going to prefer Gresham versus Lethal. It's one of the cool things about the original inception of ROH was that it had something for everybody on its shows. And I think Final Battle kind of held to that philosophy in a sense, in that there was a little bit of every style of wrestling on this show, with the technical style of Gresham and Lethal, as well as to an extent with the rope break rules and stuff of the pure title match between Woods and Johnson, to the high-flying indie-rific spot fest of the Briscoes versus the OGK, to the absolute brawl in the fight without honor between Kenny King and Shane Taylor.
Randy Isbell applying for a spot on our WrestleMania 29 show.
19.
whatever.
My,
That one, yeah.
my guess is that's because he was probably at that WrestleMania. He lives in that area.
Yeah, I think Stewart, another ex-411 writer, wants
Coppola?
to be on the next one. No, Stuart Lang. Stewartson. God, I'm so bad with names these days.
Rob Stewart?
No, Joel Silver. Yeah. We haven't had a lot of guests on for these Mania WrestleMania shows, but certainly, well, we can talk about that. That's not a problem. Anyway, point being, as a final bow for what seemed what 20 years of Ring of Honor at this point, and that's one thing we didn't talk about.
February 21st, 2002.
So that's something we didn't talk about, was they had all of these people that come on and gave little testimonials about Ring of Honor, which was nice. I thought it was a very well-produced show. In general, if this, I don't know how much this would have stood out if it wasn't going to be the final show, before the rebirth in April. But I thought it was certainly an entertaining show. There was nothing on this that, it's funny. It was called Ring of Honor, but it felt almost kind of like a more well put together Impact show. Go ahead.
Two parts to that. One, you mentioned the production. Well, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. They're owned by a television company.
Sure.
With Sinclair Broadcasting Group, like we've talked about before. Two, in terms of the way that the show came off, in terms of like an Impact show or a almost like an AEW light show, it makes sense given the influences that were there.
Yeah,
guys like Tony Khan getting involved, guys like Scott D'Amore getting involved, guys like what's his name from GCW, Brett Lauderdale getting involved and offering any way that they could assist in order to help make sure that ROH was able to put on a memorable show for their finale.
I thought from one segment to the next, the show actually flowed very smoothly. The only time I thought it kind of died was during EC3's Control Your Narrative promo, where I was like, this was timed very poorly.
Well,
the show just sort of dies at that point and has to get picked back up again. But one small trip, I'm not going to condemn the entire show.
Yeah, between the two shows, I think I actually liked Final Battle a little bit more. I gave it a 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
The Braun Strowman thing was a dead spot for me. I can't stand the guy. Haven't been able to stand the guy for years. His comments about independent wrestling make this even more tone deaf than they would have been otherwise.
Yeah, really. It's like, hey, control your narrative and all this. Like, isn't this the guy that said, that 5 minutes before he was cut?
That if you can't afford to survive on wrestling alone, that you shouldn't be wrestling. Yeah. Go ahead and charge that $5,000 booking fee again, buddy.
Says the guy working for the WWE. All right, so that's our December show, Fete Forever and Final Battle. January, we are going to do a slightly different take on this format. We're going to do The World on GCW live from the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City and ICW No Holds Barred Volume 21. So we're going to look at two deathmatch type shows.
Well, GCW was kind of like original ECW in that there's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I was going to say they're a little less deathmatch, a little bit more ECW.
ICW was more of a blood and guts deathmatch promotion.
I think we're going to play a game. Every time somebody gets hit with a light tube, we're going to take a shot and see which one of us dies first.
You do know I'm straight edge, right?
I do now.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
More of a joke about light tubes, but okay. Anyway, so that's going to take place on January 30th. The night before, myself and the Posman will be live streaming the entire Royal Rumble event. You've heard us do boxing. You've heard us do the last Clutch concert. Now we're doing the Royal Rumble.
Real quick, I have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys did the alternative comedy. It's an alternative commentary. It's available in the archive for the Radulich Broadcasting Network and on W2Mnet.com and all of the other fine places that you can listen to these broadcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no, did Whitley take a dive?
No, he did not take a dive. He got hit square in the button.
No, I saw the punch, and it looked like it connected flush.
Mm-hmm.
But there are those that are claiming that if you look at the video and you see the twitch from Paul, it's to let Whitley know it's coming.
Okay. I'm not gonna speak to that. Posit that to Robert Winfrey at Winfrey MMA on Twitter and see what he writes back to you.
I sense that I might get an earful from Robert Winfrey over that.
From Robert Winfrey, an earful? No.
And then again, you guys kept saying butterbean instead of better beef. So what do I know?
I'm not good with names, but I am good with music. And
Hey, segue!
I don't know if you know this or not, Harry Broadhurst of the Kickoff. Which real quick, like, are you ever going to do another kickoff again, or what?
We're coming back for the postseason. We've already discussed it. One of the members of the Kickoff is going through some personal issues right now. We're giving them time to take care of things. I won't say who, but we are giving them time to take care of things. So we will be returning for the NFL postseason.
Okay. Well, what I was getting to was we are giving away a free 30-day trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited service. The link is getamazonmusic.com/W2M network to stream free for 30 days. Fill out the information. After you click the link, you can enjoy all the music you like, all the music that you hear on the Metal Hammer of Doom, like Volbeat and Lordy and Poppy. It's all there for you and so much more. And then at the end of that 30 days, if you like it, you keep it. If you don't, you can cancel. No fuss, no muss, no contracts, no pains in the butt. Very easy. Everyone who tries Amazon, like Elizabeth Faust of the triple feature where we looked at 3 musicals, she uses it for realsies. We once had a toddler dance party in her kitchen. The kids were dancing on the kitchen counter, and we were DJing with Amazon Music, and you can too, and not cost you a dime. GetAmazonMusic.com/W2M network. All right, that's my plug there. What were you gonna say?
Two parts to that there. One, now you have Volbeat stuck in my head. Thank you for that. I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm.
2, do you think Amazon Music believes in Joe Hendry?
I do believe it. I do believe they believe in Joe Hendry, because really, why wouldn't you? And I believe in Joe Hendry.
I'm almost certain the ROH music is on Amazon Music. So if you want to, you could listen to I Believe in Joe Hendry.
And then you too can believe in Joe Hendry. All right, that's it. Hey, I've been handed a message that you can now rate and review on Spotify. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, please do so. Apple Music, same thing. If you're checking us out on YouTube and you're not subscribed to us, please hit that subscribe button. We are trying to get recognized and accepted on Rotten Tomatoes. I, for a decade now, seemingly have attacked people on Rotten Tomatoes for their terrible reviews, and I feel the need to be there for them to see what I can do. And I don't want to just snipe at people from afar. I want to be right there in the mix. That's my whole goal for getting on Rotten Tomatoes, is to put my money where my mouth is. So the only way to get there, though, is to meet the criteria, and the only way to meet the criteria is to have enough subscriptions through YouTube or enough reviews on Apple Music. So help us out and do one of those. If you would like to see other reviewers kick my ass, because why does everyone want to kick my ass, Harry Broadhurst? That song, by the way, is available on Amazon Music.
You have an eminently ass-kickable personality.
I know. Speaking of kicking someone's ass, go ahead and do your plug so we can get out of here.
All right. So you guys can see on the video version there, but for those of you audio only, it's at HEB the Eagle, pretty much everywhere social media related, Facebook, YouTube, email. Although hate mail does go to s.garmer@gmail.com. We have long established that on any podcast I am on.
Can I tell you how I picked that up and I've run with it?
It's fine. Everybody infringes my gimmick. It's cool. In addition, Twitter as well. You can find me at HEB the Eagle. Feel free to shoot me a friend request on Facebook and talk wrestling, especially independent wrestling, if you're listening to this particular podcast, because I'm always looking for people to talk independent wrestling with. And I have a long archive of shows that I've watched that I'm more than happy to recommend if people are looking for ways to get into independent professional wrestling as well.
All right. Thanks for joining us here on TV Party tonight. Make sure you check out our next show where we're looking at GCW The World 2022 and No Holds Barred Volume 21. Until then, he's Harry. I'm Mark. Be well, be safe, and behave.